Welcome to episode 3 of React tutorial series. In this video, we're going to learn about React components in more detail. In last video, we created one component called app, and inside that, we added two instances of another component called header. We created the header component also. If you remember, we passed a prop called name, and in the header component, we displayed the name. So our app looked like this. We have two header, and in header we passed header hyphen and header 1 as props. So in React there are special type of components called DOM components. DOM components are used to create the DOM element. Like in this example we are using div, you can notice, and in the app component also, and in the header also we are using div. This div is not similar to plain HTML div, right? Because it is JS6 we are writing. So this div component is provided by the React framework to create a div element. So here we are using this div component, and if you check our web app and if you inspect it, you can see that div elements are created. So these DOM components are not exactly same as a DOM element. Like for example, I cannot add a class with a class keyword. If you try to add a class, you can see that there is one error. This is because class keyword is a reserved keyword in JavaScript. In ES6, you can use the class keyword to create a class, and that is why you have to write class name instead of class. So just from this example, you can definitely tell that this div component is not exactly same as the HTML div element. So normally if you want to add some attribute in this div element, you can directly add those as a props, like for example ID. If I want to add some ID here, header ID, you can see in the inspector ID has been added, but only for classes you have to add class name, because class is a reserved keyword. Alright, but what if you want to add some custom property, like instead of ID, if you add some custom, like custom attribute, immediately you can see that it's throwing error. If I save it, you can see there is some error, that unknown property custom attribute. So you cannot add custom attribute like this. So if you want to add custom attribute, you have to add data hyphen your attribute name. Like if I add data hyphen custom attribute, it is not throwing any error, and you can see in the generated div, data hyphen custom attribute has been added. But normally you don't need this type of custom attributes, because in React we don't directly touch the DOM elements. Alright, let me remove that, and let me add some inline styles. In React you can add a style attribute to add some inline styles. I'm adding one object, and there suppose I'm adding some background, say background color is blue. So I have added some background color. So immediately you can notice that this background color is not similar to CSS property, because in CSS you have to write background hyphen color, but in React when you're adding inline styling, we add those CSS properties in camel case manner. The reason is that you can see in the style we are providing one object, one plain JavaScript object. If you are adding a plain JavaScript object, you cannot write a hyphenated background color, because this is not a valid JavaScript, and that is why React provided this type of syntax. And if you check the generated code, generated style, you can see React has created background hyphen color. But definitely this is not the right way to style your component, because we are adding inline styling. So I'll create one separate video for styling your React component. So in this video I just wanted to show you how to provide different properties in DOM components. The another type of property you can use in the DOM components is event handlers. If you are a web developer, you must be knowing, like in div element or in any other elements, you can add a click handler using onClick. But in React we write all the properties in camel case way. So here instead of onClick we have to use onClick C capital, and then you have to provide your function. Let's say when we're clicking the div, we're going to alert something, test alert. Now if you click on the header, you can see one alert, but if you check the element, you will not find the click handler, because React is not directly adding the onClick attribute in the element. React is using something called event delegation. If you want to know more about event delegation, you can watch my videos about event delegation. And also I created one video for React event delegation. I explain why you don't need to worry about adding event delegation in your code, because React automatically adds the event delegation. So whenever you want to add some event handlers, you can just directly add on click or like on change in input event, like that. There's one more point I want to show you, that is, instead of adding this event handler on click handler in the header, suppose I want to handle it in the app component, right? That is the parent of the header component. So we can do that. Suppose we are creating one function called on click handler, and in header you pass that handler as a property. You can definitely do that. I'm adding one more property in header type. Let's say that is on click handler, and that is of type function. So in header we can pass that handler on click handler equals to on click handler. It is TypeScript, so I have to add some return type. Currently we don't have any return type, so I'm adding void. In header component we're going to get the on click handler, and on click, let's add that. We're using TypeScript, so we have to add all those types. Alright, so if I click on the header, it works. Alright, before moving to different topics, let me show you one tool that you can use to easily debug your component. That is called React Developer Tools for Chrome. If you add that in your Chrome, you will get this component and profiler tab in your Chrome DevTools. Profiler is a little bit advanced, so I'll not talk about that in this video. Maybe in later video I'll talk about the profiler. But you can go to components to easily see your components. Like we have a app and we have two headers. If you click on the header, you can see we are passing two props, name and on click handler. So in this way you can easily visualize your component structures and your passing props. You can also see that this extension does not show the DOM components, and that is why it becomes easier to visualize your component tree. It removes all the clutters, right? In the elements tab you can see all the generated DOMs, but if you go to the component tab, you can see the clean structure of your application. Alright, our next discussion topic is children props. So what is the children of a component? This is one diff, and we have added three elements, two header and one text. These three components are the children of the parent component, right? But if you write your custom component, how do you access the children? I have two header instances, right? I'm not passing any children here, but if I add some children, like in the second header, suppose I am adding one children. Let's say the children is, I'm adding a text node. You say child is one text node that I'm passing as a child of header. Immediately you can see that there is an error because our custom header component is not accepting the children. Then let me add that in the header type. Let me add the children props. That is going to be React node, and immediately you can see the second header component, the error is gone. Now the first header component has some error. The error is property children is missing. So what we can do is make it optional. So just by adding one question mark here in TypeScript, you can make this children optional, and you can see it is not throwing any error. If you see our web app, we are not rendering the child anywhere. So what you can do is in the component you can accept the children as a children property, right? And suppose here I'm rendering that this is name and child is children that we're getting. Now you can see we're rendering for the second component, for the second header we are passing children as child, so we're rendering the child is child. For the first one we're not passing anything, so it is blank. So this is how you design your component in such a way that it can accept the children. So Instead of just adding a node, you can add another header also. Suppose I'm adding one header name, header 3. Let's make the click handler optional. I want to pass click handler everywhere. So actually, if you check the component tree, you can see we're adding one app and one header. In the second header, inside the second header, we're adding another header. So the third header is the child of the second header. So in this way, you can design your app with children property. Let's clean up the code now a little bit before moving to our next topic. So the next topic that I want to discuss is rendering a list, which is very common. Whatever the type of your website, you need to render a list, right? So I'm going to show how you can do that in React. So suppose I have one array and I have some names, like I have 4 items in the list array. Let's add the type string array. Now suppose I want to create 4 components with this array. This is a very common pattern in React. What you can do is you can map this array.map. In JavaScript, you should be knowing that map returns another array. You can watch this video that I created to learn more about maps. So basically what map does is map will iterate over your array and it will create component for each elements, right? So if I add.map and I have to add a mapper function. In the mapper function, I will get each element, let's call it item. So the item will be the string AAA and then BBB like that. And for each iteration, I'm going to create a component with that item and return that. So let's say I have just one component, use create header name equals to that item. Let's remove this extra headers. I will explain this key later. We have to add this key. One click handler is not used. Now if you check the app, you can see we are creating 4 components. So what is happening here? We're iterating over this array and we are creating a component for each item. Okay, and as you already know that array.map returns another array. So this map is returning one array of components, right? And React is then creating the elements based on that. So this is one common pattern that you can see everywhere in React app. Whenever you want to create a list of components, normally we use this type of array.map. And we can also simplify this code a little bit. So instead of using this kind of curly brace and return, we can directly return the component like that. This code is a little bit cleaner, right? And you can ask, what is this key? When you create a list in React, you need to provide this key property to let React know the uniqueness of each item. I will describe this in more detail when we discuss about the virtual DOM in some other video. For now, just remember that when you are creating a list, you have to provide a key for each component, and that key should be one unique string. Okay, so that's it for today's video. I'm sure you have learned something in this video. So if you liked it, please hit like, and also please subscribe to this channel so that you can watch more videos like this. And also please explore other videos also. You will definitely learn a lot in this channel.